Hi YouTube, Watchify here with a comparison video with the legendary Seiko SARB033 and a relatively new Citizen automatic model NB1050-59L. I recently did a review on this Citizen model and the thumbnail asked if this could be the next SARB033. In that video I said this watch has a lot going for it, but is it enough to be considered the go-to JDM automatic dress watch in 2022? The criteria I'll be judging each watch on will be dial, hands, lume, case, movements, crystal, water resistance, the bracelets, brand recognition, and cost and value. I'll assign a score 1 through 5 for each of the 10 categories with a possible maximum score of 50, and at the end I'll add up the scores to see who comes out on top in my opinion. Let's get started with the dials. The SARB has a flat black dial with polished bar-shaped applied indices. There's an applied Seiko logo with automatic in a cursive font and dual count wording near 6 o'clock. There's a polished frame date window and a small chapter ring surrounding the dial with minute and sub-minute marks. Overall, a really simple and clean look. The Citizen has a sunburst dial and also has bar-shaped applied indices, but these are longer and more prominent than the SARBs. There's also a polished facet closest to the dial center on the indices. There's an applied Citizen logo and just the word automatic in block font near 6, so no jewel count. There's also a polished frame date window and it appears to me to be larger than the Seikos. There's no chapter ring and the minute mark track is printed on the dial. Legibility is good on both dials, but I'm going to have to give the edge to the Citizen here as overall the dial just pops with the sunburst effect and larger and more polished indices. The SARB scores a 4 and the Citizen a 5 here. Moving on to the hands, the SARB's hands are a polished Dauphine shape with a raised center ridge. The second hand has a skeletonized counterbalance that adds a nice touch. The Citizen's hands are baton-shaped, also with a raised center ridge, but these hands have a brushed and a polished side. The Citizen's second hand is pretty basic. I think the Seiko's hands look dressier, but the Citizen scores high marks for the mixed brushing and polishing, so both watches get a score of 5. Both watches have lume on the dial and hands. The SARB has the well-known Seiko green Lume Bright, while the Citizen has what I think is their proprietary blue lume. The Citizen has larger lume pips located on the outer edge of the dial, just above the indices. In addition to having more lume, the location of the lume on the Citizen enhances the glow since you can see a reflection off of the polished rehaut. A lume strip also runs about halfway of the length on the hour and minute hands on the Citizen. The SARB's dial lume is located on the dial center side of each indice, and the hands have a triangular lume portion near the center of each hand. After fully charging both, the Citizen's glows brighter due to having more lume. After 10 minutes, the Citizen's lume is glowing brighter than the SARB's both on the dial and hands. So because of this, the Citizen takes the lume category with a score of 4 to the SARB's 3. The case is an important category, so let's run down what each watch has to offer. The SARB has a 38mm case with a 44.6mm lug-to-lug distance. Thickness is 11.6mm and it has a 20mm lug width. There's a pronounced downturn to the lugs when viewed from the side. The sides of the case are polished while you get a stepped layer effect as you move further up the case, and it's this top layer that has a brushed finish. There's an unobtrusive polished bezel with polishing extending to underneath the case. Also underneath you can see the exhibition screw-down case back. Finally you get a prominent 6.2mm wide push-pull signed crown on the SARB. So overall, the SARB's case comes across as more compact due to its measurements, and that layering effect really adds another dimension to the case design. The Citizen's case comes in at 38mm also, but has a 46.5mm lug-to-lug distance. Thickness is only 10.7mm, and this watch has an odd 19mm lug width. The sides of the case have an impressive brushed finish, and this is also seen on the top of the lugs. A high polish is seen on the wide bevel transition, in between the lugs, and underneath the case. The polished bezel here is wider and more prominent than on the SARB. You get a 5.3mm wide push-pull unsigned crown, and it's notable that although smaller in width than the SARB's crown, the Citizen crown is longer. You also get an exhibition case back with this Citizen, but the viewable area is smaller than the SARB's. The Citizen's case has what's called a Duratec coating, which is supposed to help with resisting scratches. Sized for my 6 3/4 inch wrist, the SARB weighs in at 125 grams, while the Citizen weighs 116 grams. This was a close one, with both watches getting a score of 4. The Seiko's more compact dimensions and signed crown help it, but the Citizen's great finish work, case thinness, addition of the scratch-resistant coating, and more prominent bezel allow it to trade blows with the SARB in this category. Onto the movements. The SARB has an in-house Seiko 6R15D automatic movement that hacks hand winds, beats at 21,600 beats per hour, has 23 joules and a 50-hour power reserve. It has a Sprawn 510 mainspring, and its stated accuracy is plus 25 to minus 15 seconds a day. It's a 3 o'clock crown movement with a date complication only. This is a pretty well-known and reliable movement that has since been surpassed by the 70-hour power reserve 6R35 movement. Its rotor is decorated with brushed vertical striping. The Citizen has the in-house 9011 automatic movement that beats at a higher 28,800 beats per hour, so this results in a slightly smoother second hand sweep. It also hacks in hand winds, it has 24 joules, and it has a 42-hour power reserve. Stated accuracy looks to be plus 20 to minus 10 seconds a day. It's also a 3 o'clock crown movement with a date-only complication. In terms of decoration, it's got a skeletonized rotor and a striped brushing pattern on its bridge. Notably, the rotor winds only in one direction, whereas the Seiko's winds in both. It's a lesser-known movement than the 6R15, but in this category I'm going to give the edge to the Citizen movement. Even though it has 8 hours less power reserve, I think the higher beat rate and the decoration help it earn the win. The SARB scores a 3 while the Citizen earns a 4. Quickly moving on to the crystals, both watches have a flat sapphire crystal, but the Citizen has an anti-reflective coating applied, so it's going to edge out the SARB in this category with a score of 4 to the SARB's 3. Both watches are water resistant to 100 meters, which, although they present themselves as dress watches, lends them to being considered almost like sports watches as well. You could swim with them, although I'm not sure how many people would do that with these watches. Both get a score of 4 in the water resistance category. Now onto the bracelets. The SARB's Oyster style bracelet has 20mm solid end links, and the links are held together with pins and collars. It tapers from 19.7mm to 17.8mm. The links have a mostly brushed finish, but you do see some polishing on the outer beveled edge of each link. You get a milled scissor clasp, double push button release, and the Seiko logo stamped onto the clasp. The clasp only has 2 micro adjustment holes. In terms of comfort, the bracelet is comfortable to wear, with the female end links allowing it to drop down fully as it leaves the case. Appearance-wise, I think it suits the SARB well, although there's a number of aftermarket bracelets available for this watch. The Citizen's bracelet is similar to the SARB's, but with a few key differences. For one, the end links are 19mm instead of 20mm wide. The center link is wider on the Citizen bracelet links, and there is no bevel on the sides of the links like the SARB has. This bracelet also has solid end links, but it's a male end link that protrudes out and adds to the perceived wingspan of the case. The Citizen bracelet tapers from 18.7mm to 17.6mm, and the links are held together with pins and collars. The clasp on the two watches are almost identical, so the Citizen clasp shares the issue of only having 2 micro adjustment holes and jutting out a bit when closed, just like the SARB's. The Citizen bracelet wears comfortably on wrists just like the SARB does. In the bracelet category, the win goes to the SARB with a score of 4 to the Citizen's 3 due to the end link design on the SARB bracelet being able to accommodate smaller wrist sizes and how the SARB links have that polished beveled edge. When it comes to brand recognition and reputation, both Seiko and Citizen are well-known Japanese brands with a long watchmaking history. Both brands have an extensive catalog of watches in all price points, but Citizen is more known nowadays for their affordable EcoDrive solar movement watches that are often found in retail stores, whereas Seiko still places an emphasis on making automatic movement watches. However, with this Citizen model, you can see that Citizen is still able to make a fine automatic watch. It's just that they're harder to find if you're outside of Japan. For me, the Seiko brand is still more recognizable and well regarded in the watch community. This discontinued Seiko SARB is famous among the watch enthusiast community, and that's why I'm going to give the edge in this category to the Seiko with a score of 5 to the Citizen's 3. The final category is cost and value. This is going to be somewhat unfair as the SARB is a discontinued model that you can still find pre-owned, but at a price well above what they originally cost when they were in production. The SARB used to cost below $400 and I think closer to $300 at one point, but now you're likely to pay around $600 for a pre-owned one. The lowest price I found for this Citizen at the time of this video was $415 on the Sakura watch website. Elsewhere, they're selling for about $450, which is a little less than what I paid for mine. Since the watch came out in 2021, it's still not too well known, and I wasn't able to find any reasonably priced pre-owned models. So this would mean in 2022, the win goes to the Citizen in the cost value category, as you're getting a great looking JDM watch with a lot of features for that $415 to $450 price range. The Citizen scores a 4, while the SARB scores a 2. So adding up the total score, the Citizen comes out on top with a score of 40 to the Seiko SARB score of 37. To answer the question of whether the Citizen model can take up the mantle of the once famous Seiko SARB033, I'd say yes it can. It's not a perfect watch by any means, but its overall presentation and features amount to a fine looking dress watch. What sticks out to me about the Citizen is the movement, the case finishing with the Duratec coating, and the dial. There are only 3 colorways that I'm aware of, which is this blue dial, a black dial, and a white dialed version. If their price lowers to below $400, I think it would become the go-to Japanese brand automatic dress watch, and one that could increase in popularity among JDM watch enthusiasts. That's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful or interesting, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, comment, or even consider subscribing. I wanted to thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in another video.